you?
It is nice. It is nice.
Okay. Hello and welcome to Game Day Preview with myself and Matisse. We've got a lot to talk about, especially coming off the back of last night, Chelsea's loss.
Yep.
But it is FA Cup weekend and we love that. The magic of the FA Cup, don't we?
The magic of the FA Cup, a trophy that we both desperately need to save our seasons.
It's the only trophy we're both, Champions
realistically,
League,
and let's be real.
Realistic trophy.
Yeah.
And of course, you will be meeting Manchester City again. Should we start with you then?
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, Manchester City again. I mean, I could definitely think of 101 teams I'd rather play right now than the same team we've just played. But it's really strange because both the Manchester City games, I'm taking a bit of confidence from our performances in terms of the game at the Carabao Cup, the defeat, they knocked us out. Then obviously the last match yesterday, I think we played pretty well in the first half, but unfortunately it doesn't count for anything. So we weren't clinical.
Hit the post twice?
Yeah, but second half we wasn't clinical. So yeah, we dropped off massively, and then they just took advantage. They had the quality coming off the bench. Obviously we had a couple of injuries, that doesn't help in the first half. But Manchester City, they're one of those teams that I think, unfortunately, again, with the injuries that we have, I think we have 10 players out. I just don't see realistically how we get past them. And it's really annoying because I really want to win this cup. We've lost like 5 Wembley finals in a row, which is unheard of, really.
Tough place to be.
Yeah, it is. And
the feeling.
I'm not used to it because usually we're really good at Wembley. At least we used to be when we had obviously the Drogbas and the Lampards and whatnot. And now I'm looking at it and I'm thinking, yeah, as much as we need this trophy, I think Potter needs it, the players need it. It would give them a great, it would give them a great lift, even if they were to finish, outside the top 4, which is probably very likely. At least if they got a trophy, we would have something to, salvage from the season and then kick on. But I don't know.
Can you see Graham Potter leading you to a trophy this season?
Can I see it? No. Let's be real.
You can't.
I can't, because do you know what it is with him is that I can see that he's learning along the way, and that's not really surprising considering the fact that he's coming from Brighton, then Austin's before that. He hasn't got the experience at the top level, so I can see that he needs his time. And obviously the squad is imbalanced, and the squad sometimes shows me that it has mentality problems. And I've seen that in multiple matches where the Chelsea team are not really playing with any sort of heart. They're not really playing like they want to be on that pitch, and that's something that I didn't really see under the previous manager, but I'm seeing it far too often under this one. I don't know what that's down to. Maybe it's down to the players or lack of motivation. The World Cup's now done. We'll see how they react. But my confidence levels in them getting over the line in the big moment in a final, I just, unfortunately, it's not there. They don't have what Chelsea are really made of in previous years, over the last couple of decades. They're missing that.
I would also say that your front line is just not really flowing. There is no fluidity there, and link up players we were talking about in the midfield. But the only thing is that this game you have got a lot of injuries. So are you going to be playing majority of youth in this? Do
you know what? At the moment, we're at a situation where if we were to play those young players like your Carneys, your Lewis Halls,
Chumeka.
Yeah, like if we used to play these guys, I don't think that actually makes us weaker. Like at this point, they're really putting out good showings. Lewis Hall was really good at the Etihad when we lost. He came on last night. I think again there was some good performances in there from Carney and players coming in. Hutchinson was struggling, but that's to be expected. Someone's always gonna struggle on their Premier League debut against a team like Manchester City. The seniors are not holding it down at the moment. So if the young players do have to stand in and step in, I'm not really feeling like suddenly we're 10 times weaker. I think at the moment, everybody's place is up for grabs. Players are very inconsistent. And I think at this point, there's definitely a reason to give some youngsters a chance. If you're in a season like this, I'd rather see young players in there. And then I can say, hang my hat on development and, promise for the future, than see players in their prime underperforming and not standing up to the level.
Have you written this season off, Matisse?
I personally haven't, because I can't, literally I just can't do it. It's not something that I can do. We're still in the FA Cup and we'll see how it goes. And then we got the Champions League, and the Champions League's a knockout competition. I don't think we're going to win that, but at least go on a journey, at least have a learning curve for the manager and the players, at least get as far as you can. And give us at least a hint of a dream. Do you know what I mean? I think writing off the season in January is nothing. It's nothing that I can do as a Chelsea fan. It's not in my nature. And also, even when we've had bad seasons, like under Conte, when we finished 5th and it was getting really chaotic, we still won an FA Cup at the end of that. Most seasons we do pick up at least a trophy, at least something to walk away from the season. So I can't rule it out, but we're getting close.
Getting close. All right, let's just have a look at what you guys are saying in the comments. Ben Clark says, "Trust the process, bro." Billy says, "Matisse, is Potter a mid-table level manager?" Do you think that, or?
I think Potter is in a tough position because he's got a lot of injuries. Yes, he's not making the right decisions as well. Tactically, at times you can say, maybe he's overcomplicated, or he's gone to wing backs with Sterling, and you're asking yourselves what's really going on. But I think before he got the Chelsea job, everybody rated him as a coach. You can see what he's done at Ostersund's, bringing them through the divisions, seeing what he's done at Brighton, taking them from relegation kind of candidate up through to their highest place finish. I think to say that he's not a good coach, or to say that he's an average coach is reactionary. I think you've got to give him time. It's his first big job. And you've got to give him an opportunity to kind of go through the pains. And let's not kid ourselves. Chelsea have not been run, in a very sustainable, successful manner in the last couple of years, in my opinion. Even before this ownership, Chelsea were finishing 4th, scraping it. Chelsea were losing finals, like I said. Yes, we won the Champions League, but that's due to an elite manager coming in, putting in a great structure and making us defensively solid. But if you're looking at the league position on a consistent basis, Chelsea have been underperforming since they won it in 2017. So this is obviously a lot worse. This is like 10th place. But I do expect it to get better than that. I do expect us to get up the league. And I still think he's a good coach. I think the question marks around him will be, can he actually manage, big players? Can he handle the pressure? Can he cope with the expectation? Can he be a little bit more maybe charismatic and build a relationship with the fans? That's where the questions will lie. Will he be ruthless enough to get rid of players that he doesn't need? That's the questions. I think him being a good coach is not a question. 100% he is.
Okay. Let's talk about Manchester City for a minute, because again, in that performance last night against Chelsea, we know that the end result, they did win. In the second half, they did look better, but they did look a little bit off for me. I don't know if it was the way they set up with Walker and Cancelo down the right. They look really confused as to what they were actually meant to be doing. He changed that at half time, but still, I wasn't convinced by them in the second half. They had about a 20-minute spell where they were passing through the lines and looking a bit more like City. But are you kind of hopeful in the fact that you've seen that performance and they can be got at?
They can, yeah. I mean, the thing is with City is that they're a strange team, because sometimes I feel like they do things that are a little bit unnecessary. Like you said, Cancelo at right wing back. They did it at Anfield as well against Liverpool, and I think it looked a bit strange that day as well. But Stones coming back in is critical. I think he's by far and away at the moment.
He had a great performance last night.
Yeah, he's their best centre back. Even for England, he was like the highest player for progressive passes at the World Cup. He's solid. He's been brilliant for like over a year now. So I look at City and I think, yeah, they do look a little bit out of sorts. We spoke kind of before the match on previews that they're looking a bit narrow. They're not having the width. Maybe they're lacking, the Jesuses, the Sterlings being a bit more direct. Obviously, Leroy Sané when he was there as well. So yeah, they don't look them normal selves, but their problems in comparison to ours are there's no comparison. And I think, even City down 15% is still City. It's still an incredible team. I think we're judging them off their own standards.
Yeah, of course.
But when we look at the standards of the league, they're still the highest goal scorers in the league statistically, and they're still in a title race. So it just goes to show how good they've actually been, that when they drop off a couple of levels, they're still better than everyone, mainly apart from Arsenal, obviously, this season.
All right, let's get a prediction then for this game. Manchester City v Chelsea, FA Cup. What is your prediction?
I went with a defeat in the Premier League, if I'm being honest, and FA Cup. Is there a second leg? Can I go with a draw?
You probably wouldn't want it though.
Get a replay. Yeah, because it will buy me more time, Abby. Let's go with penalties. We'll win on penalties. If they are doing, but there is a replay, so you know what? Let's go with a draw. I'm gonna.
You're gonna go for a draw.
Yeah, I'm gonna take myself to the next round.
Okay.
Buy myself some more time.
All right. Okay. Let's move on. Let's have a look at Liverpool taking on Wolves. Again, another team in Liverpool who have not been having the best season. Liverpool have eliminated 5 of their 7 FA Cup ties against Wolves. In terms of Liverpool, we saw them lose to Brentford at the beginning of the week. I mean, it's been a very long week. There's been a lot going on this week. and again, they're just not kind of clicking. The midfield looks stale, doesn't it? So it's just not kind of all adding up for the moment. The defence looks open and a little bit weak.
Yeah.
Wolves, new manager in Lopetegui. Can you see an upset happening here? It is at Anfield.
Do you know what? I've been thinking about this one a lot because Liverpool are in a situation where their season's not going to plan. They obviously always expect to be title challengers at the moment. They're way off that. They won't be competing for that title. I don't think they're capable of going on a 10, 12 game run. I'm looking at Liverpool and I'm thinking, again, from the season, what do you want to salvage? And it is the competitions, it is the cups. They're out of the Carabao, of course, from City. And I think there's an opportunity here for them to take an FA Cup and maybe go back to back. Champions League will be difficult. You can never hang your hat on it. So I don't think they should be taking this game lightly, considering how it's going in the Premier League. And I think they need it for confidence as well, because they are very hit and miss. I look at their defence and I'm shocked with Van Dijk's performance. Against Brentford, he was very weak.
He's obviously out now with that injury.
Yeah, he's now out with the injury. He's not been good this season. He's not organising that defence the way I expect him to. His positioning is a little off as well. Konate comes in, makes a mistake. Trent actually has probably been their best defender since the World Cup, to be honest, from the games I'm watching. And then, like you said, midfield, they're just getting overrun. When you want to play a high-tempo, high-octane type of game, which Klopp always wants to do, and I think that's Klopp's favourite way of playing. I don't think he would suit anything else, really, to be honest. And there is question marks over is he flexible enough, does he adapt in game quickly enough, etc. Then you need young midfielders, really. If you're going to try and play an aggressive, high-tempo game back and forth, then how are you going to do that with, a Thiago that is not, got the legs, Fabinho that's regressed massively and needs replacing? It's not possible.
It's also looking at the age. I mean, for me, I think that we see with the defence that it hasn't been up to standard because the midfield has been so good in their tenure, over the last 4 or 5 years, and now obviously that has kind of drifted off a little bit and it's gone stale and it's got older. I think we're seeing the defence being exposed a lot more, and that is ultimately causing to you seeing Van Dijk not having the best performances, Konate not having the best performances, Matip, and actually, like you said, credit to Trent Alexander-Arnold, because everyone was coming at him for being not defensively solid, but he has probably been one of the better ones in recent weeks. All right, score prediction, please.
If Nunes can create and not take the shots, then I'm going to go with a 2-0 Liverpool win.
2-0 Liverpool win.
Yeah, he needs to stop shooting.
Who's scoring the goals?
I don't know. I think the goal scorers. Let's say I'm going to give Salah the goal, and I'm going to give Trent a goal as well. If obviously they go their strongest team.
Okay.
Yeah.
DMYG said it's so nice to see Chelsea in the mud. Ten Deatum says Liverpool are the FA Cup defending champions. This is where they need to put their hat, in my opinion. So not disagreeing with you at all. That's kind of what you said as well, isn't it?
Yeah, fair enough.
Tonight, though, Manchester United do take on Everton. I mean, Everton... I don't even know what to say anymore with Everton.
Yeah.
They are just, they're stuck there in the bottom of the table. Do they get rid of Frank Lampard? Do they stick? They've spent a hell of a lot of money, not all under Frank, but they've spent a very large amount of money. Do they really need to be focusing on the FA Cup?
No.
They should just be focusing on trying to stay up, right?
Yeah, 100%. I think they are in real danger of getting relegated if they don't make some sort of change, because Frank Lampard is not in a position that he's familiar with, not as a player or a coach. When he was at Derby, he was competing for playoff positions. When he was at Chelsea, he was obviously competing for Champions League. He's not familiar with a relegation battle, and I think that does matter, especially at a club like Everton, who, yes, defensively, they've got Cody and Tarkowski, and they've got some solid defenders, and their defensive record at one point was even joint best in the league before the World Cup. But that attack is stinky. And, they've gone with last season Dele Alli. They've gone with, so many different names, and they've kind of just Gordon or bust. And he is always a player as well that I felt like needed more developing. And I remember when we was going for him for like 70 million, I was like, what is actually going on?
Yeah.
So
there was a lot of talk about Anthony Gordon.
Yeah, there was. And it's a lot of pressure on young shoulders. And I think other people need to step up as well, So Everton are in a real sticky position, and I'm not for one second thinking that they're not going to get relegated the way that they're playing. No one's too big to go down. We've seen that before, and I think Everton, with the money they've spent and some of the players that they got on the books, they do not want to get relegated. Nobody does, but they're not equipped to it. So for me, they shouldn't be focused on the FA Cup. I don't think they can handle that. I don't think they've got the squad to be competing on multiple fronts anyway. And if I was them, I'd be trying to get it dumped out of the competition immediately.
Yep. Everton have won just one of their last 29 away games against United in all competitions. Last one came back in 2013, so a long time.
Yeah.
Let's talk about United, though, because they have looked a different machine under Ten Hag. They're going about their business quietly. They're getting those results under the belt. Granted, they haven't faced anyone kind of in the top six or kind of in those in those Champions League positions yet, but that is to come very soon for them. But have you been impressed by what you've seen at Man United and how Ten Hag's kind of steadied the ship, turned that around, kind of changed the whole
the culture of the club?
Yeah, the culture of the club.
Yeah, I'm really impressed. I have to be, because when you come into that club and you've seen what it's been like over the last couple of years, the drama it's been toxic, it's been dramatic, it's been everything that you don't really want at a football club. It's been very commercial, and it's not really been about the principles on the pitch. And he's come in and completely flipped it. He's got rid of the egos. He's got rid of the players that are not on side or not on board with what his method is. And he's come in and he's made them very defensively solid. When you can bring in Maguire and you can bring in Lindelof and you can bring in Wan-Bissaka and players that were written off and probably still need to be moved on, if we're being honest. But you get a clean sheet out of them against any opposition that you're playing. It doesn't matter whether they're, top six, bottom six. This Premier League has shown already that there's a lot of shocks and there's a lot of teams picking up points against Nottingham Forest against Chelsea, for instance. So you can't take for granted any points in this league. You have to get every single game and kind of treat it as a final, because anybody can beat anybody in this league. So although they haven't played anybody of real note, you could say, it's still very impressive that they're at least getting the job done against the smaller teams. And
what's interesting with United, I mean, obviously they have played a lot of them earlier on in the season.
Yeah.
And they did beat Arsenal, they did beat Tottenham.
Yeah.
But what you notice with United is these are kind of games to the slightly lesser teams that they were losing last season, and that's something they've turned around, as well as their home form.
Yeah, they're more organised now. I think they're one of those teams that they show signs of playing really good football. Some of the goals they've scored this season have been brilliant team goals, but they know how to defend. They know how to be organised. Casemiro has made a world of difference. This is one of the, if not the signing of the season, in my opinion, because he's come in there and he had a little bit of a dodgy start, 2-3 games, but he's literally everything to that team. He's brought incredible. He
was exactly what they needed.
Exactly what they needed.
And as well as Eriksen. I mean, those two signings for me have been the most pivotal for Manchester United in regrouping and turning this around for them.
Yeah, he's come in and, his passing range is incredible. We saw that for Brazil in the World Cup in the first game. He's scoring goals, even Casemiro as well. And on top of that, like I said, he's shielding the defence and he's given licence to others to move forward. I'm seeing him intercept the ball with his chest. He's unbelievable. And it's no surprise. If you play for Real Madrid in that midfield three for that long and win that many Champions Leagues, then you're worth your weight in gold. Well,
it's an interesting comment from Dennis the Great, who said Casemiro and Varane are bringing that Real Madrid mentality to United, and I think that's actually pretty spot on. They needed players that were leaders and to kind of set the tempo for United and remind them that they are Manchester United. And I think having a strong manager in Ten Hag and also having players like that is a good recipe.
Yeah.
What is your prediction, please?
I think I'm going to go with a 2-0 United win.
2-0 United win. Yeah. Okay. Right, looking at Oxford taking on Arsenal. I mean, they got a very nice draw, didn't they?
Yeah, Arsenal. Oxford University standing up. Let's go. You know what I mean? Nerd tax.
They had a nice draw. Big day out. Big day out for Arsenal at Oxford. Arsenal, of course, top of the table. Drew earlier in the week to Newcastle. Did you see anything in that game that might allow you to worry about Arsenal in any way, shape or form?
I think not. Do you know what? Nothing that we didn't already know. I think Newcastle, best defence in the league, and they've shown that, and they were humble enough to come to the league leaders and do what they needed to do. Frustrate them. You don't open up against the league leaders, the most free-flowing team. You don't do that. You go in there and you get your draw, or you defend and you try and nick it on the counter. I think Arsenal, they played really well in that game. I wasn't really disappointed. I wouldn't be disappointed if I was them about their performance. They still zipped the ball around with pace. Odegaard was man-marked really, really well, so they couldn't really get the ball to him many times. And when they did, he was 2-3 men on him immediately. But when you look at that bench, you can see that Arsenal are lacking depth. They're lacking quality. Arteta didn't really use all of his subs. He brought on Tomiyasu. He's not going to bring on Marquinhos. He's not going to look to Vieira.
There's only a few players that he might trust.
Yeah.
With the injuries to Jesus and the injuries to Smith Rowe, it kind of leaves the bench light when Nketiah's already played.
Exactly. And that's why they need signings. That's why they're going for Mudryk. That's why they're going for all these players, because they know that if push comes to shove and they do get some injuries or they do need to rotate, and they do have Europa League latter stages and everything to contend with, that bench is not good enough. And you just know that with the quality football that they're playing and the standard and the level that those starting 11 players are playing, you know that bench is not able to do that. You know those players on that bench are not able to come into this team and play to the same level. They're definitely going to lose something. I think Arteta knows that. I think Arsenal fans know that. I think everybody knows that. So nothing to worry about, but a message to the board, I think, on their side that, yeah, we need to bring some players in because this bench is not a title-winning bench at all.
Okay, prediction for you?
I'm gonna go with an Arsenal win. I'd be shocked if they lost this one. I'm gonna go 4-1.
Okay.
What about you?
Do you think they're going to concede?
Yeah, I think a little bit of Oxford University, you know what I mean? A little bit of nerd tax.
I'm going to go 1-0 Oxford.
1-0 Oxford. Go on, Abby, say it again.
1-0 Oxford.
DR Sports clips.
Realistically, that's just, me talking, the buyer's part. Right, let's have a quick look at Newcastle, Sheffield. Newcastle, again, really good performance in the week, doing what they need to do to get the job done.
Yep.
I love watching Newcastle at the moment. I love that they're an underdog team. I love it. And I think they've always gone about their business really well since being taken over. They haven't gone and blown the bank, and they've been doing things in the right way. And I think credit to Eddie Howe as well for how much they've progressed. We go back a season to last season, and they were bottom of the table.
Yeah, bottom of the table, round about there, yeah.
All right, so what's your prediction for this game?
I'll go for Newcastle win again. I think Newcastle, why not try and win a trophy? Maybe squad depth wise, you might be looking at that as a question mark. Obviously, Wilson is a down, Wilson, and then you've got Wood, and that's a downgrade on the forward side. But they've been coping with their injuries pretty well. They've had St. Maximum out. They've had at times Wilson out as well. They've had their record signing Isak out as well, and they've still coped. So I think if you're Newcastle, you're just enjoying the journey. I don't think you should get too caught up.
No, there's no pressure on them.
Yeah, there's no pressure.
There's no pressure.
Like you want to make Champions League. You're in the race now. You definitely want to make it. You definitely want to overachieve. It's not to say just take everything blasé, but why not try and win a cup? Imagine winning a cup.
I'm very interested to see what the sides put out this week, because there's such a jam-packed fixture schedule that I'm interested to see the type of sides that get fielded. Definitely.
Yeah, I am. I think Newcastle are one of those teams I'm most interested in, because Eddie Howe could completely go against what we're saying and just play a bunch of young players.
Let's focus on getting
the league,
Champions League and top four.
Well,
let's wait and see. All right, and finally, let's talk about Tottenham, Portsmouth. Tottenham are at home to Portsmouth. The last time these two met in the FA Cup was 2010, and Portsmouth did knock us out in the semi-final, 2-0.
You got a relationship with Portsmouth.
I remember the day.
Defoes, Crouches, Harry Redknapp's, Cranshaw. Yeah, you two are like
two peas in a pod.
Yeah,
2 peas in a pod.
Literally. Portsmouth. It's a shame they're not as good as they used to be.
Away day at Pompey was fun.
Yeah. I like Portsmouth, man. I missed them actually. To be fair, in the Premier League, they had some good players. I'm gonna go with a Tottenham win though, because if you guys have to win. Do you know what? I think out of everybody this weekend, you're under the most pressure, because you've got the winning manager, you've got the win now attitude, you've got the monkey on your back of not winning a trophy in so long. You guys have to win.
It's a heavy monkey.
Do you not feel that pressure of, do you know what? This is actually. Because obviously on my side, I need this trophy too. Let's not lie. This is a terrible season. But obviously, at least I can pull to previous years. You guys, do you not just feel that? You know what? I'm getting sick of this now. Like Conte's here.
Matisse, I'm beyond sick. I'm beyond sick. I'm now tired. I'm tired now. Look, I think this is important for Tottenham to kind of put eggs in an FA Cup basket. We need to win something this season. Top four, I think, is going to be difficult with how open that race is. Depending on what we do in January, it's still not going to be enough, I would say, especially with what I'm seeing this season from other teams. I expect Tottenham to win this, but when I say I expect it, I would also not be surprised if we didn't.
Tobes is telling me to give it a rest. He told me that they would win a trophy this season.
I said we'd win a trophy this season, but things change. Hopefully we do go on and win a trophy. I would love to see Tottenham in a good cup run. and especially being at home, I would expect us to have enough talent. But again, I think he's going to play kids in this because I think that we don't have.
Conte.
I don't think we have this.
Conte's a winner.
I don't think we have the strength in depth. I don't think we have the strength. We've got a lot of injuries at the moment as well. You forget Bentancur out, Richarlison out, Lucas Moura out, Kulusevski out. That's 4 key players already. Maybe not so much Lucas, but Lucas would feature in this game usually.
Yeah.
So I'm not entirely sure what he's going to do with it.
If he's talking about Premier League, we could finish 5th. We could finish 6th. We could finish 7th. Well, then
focus on a cup, right?
Focus on a cup. That tells me you've got to focus on a cup and you've got to go all out to win that cup, and at least leave Tottenham, because if he does leave at the end of the season, which I think is likely, at least leave with a trophy, because then you have something to say. Listen, you can't chat because I just brought a trophy to your club, so I don't want to hear it from any of you, and keep it moving. It's the ultimate Conte way to walk out.
It is. Lots of you in the chat saying Tottenham must win the FA Cup. Yeah, it's easier said than done though, isn't it? Anyway, let's finish off on Brentford against West Ham. West Ham are having a pretty shocking season by the standards that they've set over the past few years. Brentford, on the other hand, are looking great. I think at the moment they're leading the West London trio, aren't they?
I can't remember if it's Brentford or Fulham.
Brentford or Fulham. One of them is leading the way. They'll be on a high after that win over Liverpool. Does Moyes need to focus on this, or do you think that his focus will be on Conference League? What do you think?
Do you know what? Yeah, it's weird because West Ham have depth. West Ham have actually got a big squad. When you look at their team and the players that they brought in, they've got the quality to actually challenge on multiple fronts. I couldn't say the same last year when they were actually challenging on multiple fronts. So it's weird. You know, they went to the semi-final of the Europa League and they were kind of like really squeezing the sponge. They had to like use Antonio to the max and use Souček to the max. And now this season they've brought in Paqueta, Scamacca. They've actually got strength in depth, but they're having a horrendous season. I'm actually shocked that they're this bad. If they were hanging around 10th, 11th, 12th, you know, you could say, okay, cool, it's been a little bit of a shaky start, maybe it's bedding in the players, etc., and they'll kick on. But to be a couple points off the bottom is insane. But do they need the trophy? Do they need a cup run? I don't know, because I don't know how serious to take their relegation situation at the moment. I think it's too early to say that they're really actually...
If you're floating around the bottom and you've also got some type of European football for the rest of the season, is it worth being involved in another cup? Would you not focus on staying up?
Yeah. Do you know what? It's weird for me to even think that West Ham are in a relegation battle, but just because of the quality of players that they've got. So
yeah, but it hasn't worked out. You know,
at the moment,
Paqueta got his first goal the other night, and it was from the penalty spot. Yeah. So a good player, just not fitting in. Maybe it's Moyes. Do you think they'll sack Moyes?
I think they should. I think they should sack Moyes. I think when you look at the players that they brought in, they don't really suit Moyes. You know, he's done
a great job there, though.
He's done a great job. But we spoke about off air about Pochettino done a great job, sacked. Ranieri at Leicester did a great job, sacked. So many managers have done great jobs, but the following season, on the back of that, they haven't been able to make it work.
You can't say West Ham haven't backed Moyes, I would say.
Yeah.
He has had the backing.
Well, do you know what? It's weird. Did he select these players? He was always very,
coy.
He's very coy about what players he wants, and he was very kind of skeptical of making signings, and then they go and have this massive window, and to be honest, none of them look like Moyes players. I don't associate these players with Moyes.
What is a Moyes player? Marianne Fellaini?
Yes. Yes, indeed.
Is he still
Antonio and Fellaini and direct football and Scamacca's and
Matic,
Paqueta's,
that type.
Yeah, I just think Scamacca's, Paqueta's, it's all too much.
Fancy.
It's all too much fancy. It's
flair.
Too much. Yeah, it's too much flair. You know, some people, and myself included, fancy. Fine dining is not for everyone. You know what I mean? Like,
sometimes you just want a good burger.
Sometimes you just want a good burger.
You want
I think Moyes is a burger man. I don't think he's a person that wants to go and have shrimp and go and have all of these little fancy things in Mayfair. I think he wants a little bit of a burger and chips.
Nothing wrong with a burger and chips. I love pie and mash. Right. Anyway, that is it for our FA Cup preview. We will be with you tomorrow for the Saturday Football Show FA Cup special, and we'll be taking you through all of the games and the goals as they come in. So, on that note, I was going to say Chelsea going to be relegated. But
wait.
Are Chelsea going to finish top half?
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
But don't ask any more questions.
Okay, let's make a bet on that. Thanks, guys, for watching, and we will see you tomorrow. Have a good day.